but
You're already
getting
working.
something. Yeah.
You're already working on it.
And what?
Yeah. It's like, that's like, that's what it comes down to. We'll figure that out later. What's in their hands? They have something. These guys.
It's weird. It's instant talk, but it's like Netflix when all goes wrong. It's a smaller section. But depending on your phone, I've got that as well.
I don't know who they are.
Seem to have the reputation of the state.
Yeah.
Carl Silver. So it's exit 130
In Newport.
Well, you know, there are.
We don't know everybody.
You don't know everybody, and you're not just limited to next line.
Yeah, yeah. It'll got you.
Your September relationship, they're like, you've been together.
We may never. We gotta wait till Congress finishes. Transportation.
Feeling better? Feeling better?
Except Cecil. I don't know where Marker is.
I don't know what else they. He's in transportation. On any. Okay. Because he voted. Okay. I just thought it was kind of unusual.
Hi, Chip, what's up, man? How are you?
Just like the rest of us.
You know, I'm old enough now that I should know better, but I'm still clueless. Well, if you consider that I stopped caring as my coping mechanism, then yes, really well. Big trucks? Big trucks. Yeah, both are where it's like it's double conditions. You don't go across the channel for something left. Right, and it's problematic whether it's every comes from an authorized.
So I don't like it.
But I can tell you, if Congress is and if Secretary of Transportation said, okay, you can get the voting Congress and say, but that's insulting them?
Right.
Well, the same was true for the rest stops.
Yeah.
You might want to be in here.
Or not. Or
Maybe.
not.
Excuse me? Sorry?
Don't like that.
That's very instructive. After last year. Yeah, they definitely made a convert of him. Yeah.
All right, my favorite lobbyist altogether. Which one? Has anybody got a proxy that I don't know?
Are we empowered? Frank's
You don't actually need to see.
No,
that's been proven. Yeah.
but yesterday was the first time I heard reference to a black man. You know, when to the non-Canadians, they didn't see what is that? I mean, do they have implants now?
That might be an improvement.
Maybe I'll have an interesting sense of humor. It's not as interesting as yours. He's working on it.
I just do it.
They've already gotten Chinatown, let's see, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. There's a third one. And movie references. Yeah, they're all good. Yeah.
I had one that just fell flat in House Finance. I really don't understand.
House Finance, consider the audience.
I know. Well, that's
Lee Ware would be the only one who would chuck. Lee Ware would be the only one who would chuck.
Yeah, no, it was on Wicked Watson's communication sales and news station. Dean speaks before me. It's this long speech. He was trying to
Wear him down.
and so then
Ready
I
for
go
some
up
comic
there and I say,
relief.
you
Yeah.
know, Mr. Chairman, I haven't heard all morning in years. Change your pager bill. That's where the item gets taxed. You know, Mr. Chairman, technology changes. It's all this goes up.
That was good, Neil. Yeah.
You know, it's like, huh? I thought that was a good one. I mean, Craig Burns complimented me on that.
Yeah.
Following week, he asked me if I had my pager turned in.
I still kill them.
Oh, hell yeah. Duh.
With the flourish.
Were you open translation?
No, I was just there for Zulu, and I was interested in building Wagner struck guys, the rural guys.
Yeah.
And then another one
And the rest stops. Yeah.
well, I think the rest of them. I was interested in the one that about the bees had about because I did the rock girls. They really cared.
Yeah.
And my best friend grew up in the computer class, Andy Atkins, and works for Nitsa. And he knows the guy who runs the system.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
But no.
They killed him.
But it wasn't clear to me who was really pressing for the bill other than the guy who's a resident.
Charlottesville.
They killed him.
Chairman.
He was a year too young. Yeah.
Was it first grade? Who did you have first grade?
The Steel.
This deal. I know. Were you at the Petersburg School of Childhood before that?
Went to modern kindergarten. Yeah.
Which is Petersburg School of Childhood. It's like
Modern
a remnant building on Sycamore
Was that
Street.
like they embraced 19th century
It was the best of the era. Yeah. But do you remember Cindy Goodwin?
Oh, yeah,
Cindy, I bought Cindy the raffle ticket for the masterpiece drawing, and we won. So last year I went back and looked, and the lady said, "Well, I chose my best friend of 30 years." And it's like, I'm gonna take my best friend of 55 years.
Are you still in touch with Cindy?
Yeah, we're real close. Yeah, she lives in King William. Yeah.
Yeah, we were in like Miss Fields classes when Mr. Peel announced the jacket.
I thought that was second
Was it
grade.
maybe it was Marshall?
Yeah, Marshall's fine.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Seventh grade, geography class, Mr. Fortunato, Mr. Unfortunato. Because he spent the entire period talking about how miserable his life was.
Oh. That was a lesson. Oh, yeah, my chairman. We do.
You too. So you're all in recovery.
As I said, like,
There's redemption from.
oh no, I will back you up on that. Yeah, okay.
That's right.
We'll keep working.
They're everywhere. But Peter's
Everywhere but Peter. Everywhere but Peter.
And I married a girl from Danvers.
Well, there it is. I was talking at the Wick Club. Todd, we used to be one of the newsrooms. Me, Tom Kepson, Jeremy Slade, and so we covered all of them. All we needed was somebody from Portsmouth. Riding around.
That would have been picked up by the pilot anyway.
The woe begotten
The has-beens.
The once were.
The once were.
But they didn't go to school after a while. They went away. A few of them came back.
That may not be bad.
I go to King's Barbecue still down there.
We do.
He can't do King's Barbecue anymore.
Does
He's
he?
vegetarian.
But they do have what? Good coleslaw. And potato wedges. Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough to
Well, have you been to the new farmer's market, whatever it is?
Oh, not the new.
New.
Went to the one with Farmer.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But I hear it's pretty good.
I know.
Yeah.
What if talking out as you talk with you a little bit?
I'm afraid if I sit down, I won't get
Yeah, she mentioned this.
That's my standard.
I don't know, 45 minutes. And I just said I might.
We've got four
Kind of sets
voting members.
Some will come and go in the morning.
Well, Stuart's not a member. Carico's cheering.
Yeah, more so.
Sasslaw used to be there.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
So, right tomorrow.
A little more debate.
Well, that's what I was interested in. I was interested in.
That was an interesting.
Yes.
That was a partisan vote to TBI, but then some of the towns voted not to report it. And the first one failed.
The Stuart's were the ones who don't want it. That pretty much good thing. They want to reach out.
Addressed by the new gateway. Yeah.
They wanted to.
But that should be addressed by the trans thing.
Would you like this music?
Yeah, I remember.
Subcommittee of Transportation and set the finance committee to order. We are still lacking a couple of members, so we're not in a position to take up legislation at this point because we don't have a quorum. But we do have what I feel is a very, very exciting presentation from Mr. Nash. He's the CEO and Executive Director of the Virginia Space Flight Authority. And thank you, Mr. Bill Revelle, for joining us. Bill is the NASA Director of the Wallops Space Flight Center. So having said that, just by way of memory, it was just a year ago that we appropriated $20 million. That was money returned from the city of Virginia Beach, redirected those funds to Wallops to build a vehicle assembly facility. And I would like them to give an update on the status of that building, plus the contracting activity associated with that building, just to give us an indication of whether we're getting a decent return on our investment there. So, I don't know, Dale, you want to lead it off? Sure. Thank you.
No slides to present, but payload processing facility, which is called the payload processing facility because it pays for the entire load. And, this is the equivalent of what an operating room is to a hospital. Payload processing facility is to the Space Center, and we are part and piece of the greater NASA Wallace facility. We launched the International Space Station from there, but Department of Defense, and in particular National Security launches the NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, and they have announced it, so I'm not saying anything that they haven't said. But they have a launch coming out here the latter part of this year with the satellite, and we have basically been told by our customers that to get additional launches, we had to have a payload processing facility that can operate at the highest security levels, the highest cleanliness levels in the scientific technology. So we communicated that back to the powers that be. The money came through. We're in the process of building this, and we have already secured one additional launch and another one soon to be coming, a national security launch with a future that looks like it will go on with 1 to 3 additional launches every year, and that is exactly because of the investment we put in here. So
Now, has that investment been able to bring additional capital in from the Department of Defense, and if so, how much?
The Department of Defense looked at this and said this is a very nice facility. Oh, by the way, we want the additional enhancements here. So to date, it's about $4.5 million they have added into this to get additional security, additional cranes, lifting facilities, communications, things that aren't obvious to others. And Bill Rovell will talk about what he has gotten in addition to that, very closely tied to this, but we're expanding our base beyond NASA, and we are seen as a key part of our national security and national security launches coming forward, and the money we have seen so far is only the beginning, not the end of it. There will be people throwing their presence here, and a key part of our national security going forward.
So, based on and these are all leading questions, based on the fact that DOD has put up this money, then it looks like they're nesting at this facility, and perhaps we use this on a frequent basis.
For those of you who have dealt with national security, we will go up to a level of security within our facilities, and we will never dial that back down. Now, that's a significant cost to make a commitment. So that means they're here to stay. In fact, the discussions were, are we treating this as a one-off, or are we treating this as a permanent relationship? And the answers all came back because of the Commonwealth's commitment and the Virginia Space Authority and the vision we have in place. We're bringing it as a long-term commitment here with our partnership with NASA here.
Thank you. Mr. Rovell, just briefly, thank you for joining us. I have just to add that this is a unique relationship that I've ever seen between a federal facility and a state facility. And I think Mr. Rovell is to be commended the fact that he is literally, if NASA has an entrepreneur, it's got to be Bill Rovell in terms of the associate activities he has on his facilities and actively going out and seeking, if you will, more customers to utilize the facility. So Bill, if you could fill us in.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
So as Dale kind of mentioned, we're trying to diversify to kind of expand beyond what is just right now the space station resupply. That is very important, and we hope that continues. But this step into the DoD side of things and the national security launches is critically important to us and our growth and where we want to go. I'd say one thing, relative to our relationship is it's been a great public-public partnership. We realized very early on that we're kind of joined at the hip, and if one does well, then we all do well. So it's been really important to us. So from our side of it, we're the facility is on our range. We've gotten some other funding from NASA, but in addition to that, the DoD has matched us to also help us upgrade our air surveillance program there, which will allow us to tie into the Patuxent River and to Norfolk Hampton Roads area. So we'll get
members have a chance to stop by the aerospace thing tonight, but I just think it's great to hear. So often we appropriate and never hear back, but to hear back from the folks that have actually taken this investment, been able to leverage it with fairly serious, significant DoD money, and the fact that we can launch small and fairly large means that the trend in satellites is to go small and perhaps put up multiple, and by DoD making this stake, the National Reconnaissance Office making their own investment, their own dollars into this facility only means that we can expect more activity out of that facility. So thank you for the update. Okay, we have a quorum now, so let's get started. Senator Barker, you have Senate Bill 393.
Mr. Chairman, if I could for a moment sort of bring the subcommittee back up to speed on where we were. The subcommittee had recommended at the last subcommittee meeting incorporating Senator Barker's bill 393 into Senator Saslaw's bill, because that bill came back to us. Senator Barker's bill came back as well, so I believe the subcommittee's recommendation to incorporate the two would still remain.
And I believe there's a substitute.
There will be a split. And Senator Stewart's, because it has a policy component that is similar to Senator Saslaw's, we brought that one back here. You had also recommended reporting that one to the full committee at the last subcommittee meeting.
Right. Secretary Valentine, did you want to make some opening comments for us?
Yes.
This is on 866.
856. We can do that while she's talking. Is there a motion on the substitute? Then moved seconded that the substitute be adopted is 856. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. No opposition. Okay. The substitute's before us. Secretary Valentine, thank you.
Very much. Thank you for allowing us to review this. I'm going to give you an overview of what's in the substitute. As we all know, this is a $40 billion asset. Technically, it is for us. Like the port, and like Zealous, it's an economic driver for business recruitment, business expansion. It carries 340,000 trips daily in Northern Virginia. This particular package is put together to address the state of good repair needs for the system. We have a unique opportunity because DC, Maryland, and Virginia all recognize that the system needs to be addressed. Its capital system cannot be moved to another year. This particular substitute provides $154 million of dedicated funding for WMATA. It includes a state portion, a regional portion, and a local portion in its funding package. It puts a floor on the regional gas tax to make it consistent with the statewide gas tax for both Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads. It establishes a dedicated long-term funding for VRE, for the commuter rail services. It creates a fund, the Commuter Rail Operating and Capital Fund for VRE. It does include, in this substitute, $50 million of CPR bonds to be reauthorized to match the federal CREA funds. It is contingent upon Congress reauthorizing the $1.5 billion package out of Washington. So it does include those those bonds. It does remove $600 million of CPR bonds for transit, but it does include a $20 million dedicated fund for transit statewide. And yes. Yes, and having the Commonwealth have that $50 million commitment based on that decision to have it reauthorized is important in negotiating. So if it's not, then we don't reauthorize the bonds. Yes, sir. And then finally, the reforms. The reforms we put in this package actually go beyond what was in Ray LaHood's report. It includes a cap on operating, the consequences for not, or for extending beyond the 3%. The CTB can actually withhold 20% of the funding, which is about $31 million. Very serious about making sure we operate within that cap, and we are trying to make service match demand. It also reforms the board down to 8 members, the actual board without the alternates, which makes the board far more manageable. It requires the adoption of a strategic plan and a 6-year capital improvement plan. If it's not done, again, we can withhold funding. And finally, it requires on an annual basis out of the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission reports to the governor and to the General Assembly on safety and reliability, financial performance of both the rail and the bus line, its growth strategies, its efficient strategies, safety and condition, as well as ridership. An annual report every year by November 1st. The whole idea behind this is to make sure we do not find ourselves in this position again. We realize the investment that we're making and we want to ensure accountability for every penny. And with that, Nick Donahue can go through the funding package if you so wish.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to start with WMATA. There are several different funding sources that are provided in substitute for the WMATA Capital Fund, which would be a special non-recurring fund created on the books of Treasury. The first source there is $30 million in state funds. There are two components that make up that state funds. First is $20 million in state recordation taxes, which are general fund monies. Those funds are currently dedicated to the Northern Virginia Transportation Business Bond Program. That program was authorized in 1993, 25-year debt. We're here in 2018, we're starting to pay bonds off, so there's excess revenues. And so we would dedicate the excess revenues permanently up to $20 million to the WMATA Capital Fund. The other $10 million in state funds comes from redirecting an existing 1% motor vehicle rental tax. That tax for many years was dedicated to the Rail Enhancement Fund. 2 years ago, the Assembly moved it to the State of Good Repair program, where it was mostly used to rebuild rest areas for 2 years. It's been there for 2 years, and we propose to dedicate it again to the WMATA Capital Fund. There is several different regional components. The first is $45 million from a 3% transient occupancy tax within the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. Those are the 6 Northern Virginia jurisdictions that are a part of the WMATA Compact in Northern Virginia. 2% of that 3% is existing and is redirected from an existing tax there. 1% or $14.8 million comes from that increase that's being proposed in this bill.
So the total transit occupancy tax increase will just be 1%.
Correct.
That on a $300 night,
and again, that would restore the rate back to what was passed by the General Assembly in 2013 in the 2313 conference report. Another regional component would be an increase of the grantor's tax in the NVTC jurisdictions of 10 cents per $100 of assessed value. That would generate $29.9 million. Again, that is similar to the rate that was approved by the General Assembly in 2013 in the 2013 conference report. The final regional component would be $18.6 million that would come from an increase or putting in the gas tax floor for the regional funds at the NVTC gas tax. That is a portion of the increase there. And the remaining $31 million, Mr. Chairman, would come from the local governments on a proportional basis relative to what they have to pay today under the WMATA Capital Fund. And if you're kind of wondering what does that mean, that means Arlington and Fairfax generally pay more, and Loudoun and some of the smaller jurisdictions pay less because they owe less under the WMATA Capital Fund. So that is
That's 31 million.
So that's the $154 million, Mr. Chairman, for WMATA. I'd be happy to answer any questions of that, or I can hit on the other aspects of the bill.
Other questions on the funding board? Okay. You want to delve into the bond?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So this substitute does remove the previous $550 million authorization with a $110 million annual cap. That is replaced by a much smaller one-time conditional bond authorization of $50 million. As the Secretary noted, that $50 million is really in there if we're able to work and negotiate with Congress to extend what we call the PREA funding, which is an extra $150 million a year Congress provides to WMATA outside of their existing transit programs. It requires a $50 million match from Virginia, a $50 million, yes sir, from DC, and a $50 million match from Maryland. And so this is giving us the ability as the administration to go work with Congress, show that there is commitment from the General Assembly that if Congress moves forward with these funds, that Virginia will seek to participate in that program. But it is a one-time $50 million authorization. I want to stress that. It's not the previously not those in here.
Is there anything in here that says that none of this goes into effect unless Maryland does their part and DC does their part?
Mr. Chairman, that is a very good point. I should have noted that all of the provisions in here related to raising money only become effective, with the exception of the gas tax floor, if Maryland and DC provide their share of $500 million. We are 154, Maryland's around 167, and DC is whatever 500 minus those two is.
Senator Newman.
So I think it's more to council, on the line 1620 through 1626. I guess you struck that, to make sure that that's not, actuating tax based on third party under the marshal.
Yes, sir, it's, the General Assembly is adopting the tax, we're just making it contingent on other activity, other events happening, which is different than delegating tax.
Self-actuating, it's not delegation, so.
Right, because the General Assembly is stating that yes, we are including it, it's just not, it's kind of like the enactment of our bill, it's just based on the events.
Are there other questions? Senator Barker.
One quick question as it relates to the TRIA funding. The discussion going on this already as it relates to the 10th year of the original 10-year authorization. Is the $50 million that we would provide for that already in the budget so that we don't have to request that if that comes through?
Mr. Chairman, to Senator Barker, that is correct. We have the $50 million for the final year of the existing pre-authorization.
Okay. Are there any other questions? All right.
Mr. Chair, I do think we need to bring up one more thing that is on this bill, and that is dedicated fund for, that is included in this bill.
Chairman, as we worked at the staff level, I appreciate the Secretary for all of the support that was provided by her Office of the Agencies. The proposal is that we would impose the statewide sales and use tax on the ride-sharing services currently provided by TNC partners. NCSL data indicates there are at least 8 other states that currently impose a levy of some type on ride-sharing services. Those range from sales taxes to a fixed charge per ride. Those states include Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, Nevada, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, and the District of Columbia currently proposes a 1% levy on those services as well. So the bill before you would dedicate any revenue generated from the imposition of sales tax to the statewide Mass Transit Trust Fund to benefit all transit operations and capital writ large across the state.
That's estimated here at $20 million.
Yes, sir, that's estimated at about $20 million a year based on extrapolating the collections from the District of Columbia by Virginia population. And is not dedicated to the
May I add to the, Mr. Chair, Senator Newman, that it is for statewide use, but we are also, this bill also directs us to create a prioritization process in transit, very similar to what we're trying, what we have done in Smart Scale, so that as these funds are made available, there will be a prioritization process in place around the state.
Okay. Does everybody understand that portion? Okay, is there anyone opposed to this legislation? I suspect if I asked if anybody's for it, the whole room would get up, so I'm not gonna bother that. I think the committee understands the bill. Is there a motion on the bill?
I'll move that the 960, 856, that's modified amortization substitute, including Senator Barker's bill. Who else? What's that? That would be reported.
It's been moved, is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we recommend reporting to the full committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, one, yes, Senator Newman.
I just want to say, it's a fantastic job, Secretary. I think really did a good job finding cash where there was no cash. I would like to continue to work on it, this, between now and the next, Secretary. Really is a, we can work the bonds for already. We had the bonds, but it was a bad idea. This is better.
Senator Hanger, were you for it? I'm for it. Okay, I'll go to for it. The bill's been reported. Okay, those two bills. Okay, on the agenda, Senator Stewart. Okay, for the second time, the committee reports on a 6-0 vote. David Bill's speaking report. Yeah, okay, all right. And then the last bill on our docket is Senator Hanger.
Yes, sir.
Senator Hanger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there's an amendment next to substitute. There's a motion on substitute. Been moved and seconded to substitute to be adopted. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the substitute for Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. This was set up a West Virginia Transportation Commission. I'd like to request the ability of the roads, and we have tremendous needs in rural areas, specifically on the 81 corridor. So this really substitute sets up, I believe, the commission in an appropriate way. The tax, I want to have the tax the same as we're having in Virginia. Lisa hasn't brought that into it yet.
Okay, is that the only source of revenue? Okay, so the sales tax, okay. All right. Gasoline and diesel? Okay. Similar to what Northern Virginia does. Okay, does everybody understand the amendment? The amendment is that the source of funding for this new authority would be the tax on fuel with the floor, okay? All right, does everybody understand the amendment? The motion on the amendment? The movement second, the amendment be agreed to. We still have a form, okay, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, okay. Okay, everybody understand the bill? Okay. Read too slowly.
What areas does it cover?
It covers, I've managed it, typically some research is what you might better describe it.
Mr. Chairman, and I apologize, I forgot to bring a list of the localities covered, but it basically is the spine, the western spine of Virginia.
So it's all SW 163, 672, right?
From Bristol to Winchester?
325 miles.
We, 1 through 7, which is the, just, yeah, I'll bring a list for you, distributed to all.
Mr. Chair, just to give a little geographic specificity, it basically is everything along I-81 west of the mountains. And then it goes down, and the only one that sort of extends east from 81 is Planning District 3, which is in the Mount Rogers area. So it makes us right.
The reason why Danville Metropolitan Plan is on there, Danville's nowhere near that.
Danville is not in Planning Districts 1 through 7. Danville's in Planning
I'm
District
sorry,
1.
where do you see that?
164, 165.
That is from an earlier draft, that should.
Okay, that should not, should not be there.
One point I was trying to help out, maybe I still should help out, 81 corridors down Clarksville.
Senator Harrison, there's gonna be a lot of weight to carry right here. I would recommend you not.
And Mr. Chair, I would point out that Senator Stanley needs more help than even you and I can provide, so.
Okay. Everyone understands what the bill is. Senator Hanger?
Senator.
I talked to, I'm sorry she's left, Secretary Valentine about some unique approaches that she might be looking at in terms of.
They have, are supporting, a study of pulling Trump from the state.
I understand that.
Chairman, I understand that. In fact, I signed on that bill about
I may not like this bill. I've asked for one. I haven't got one.
as you and I know, the study is necessary
We understand that. there's people who do see behind you, that's where from them.
Hey.
Presently, local taxes population coverage. It's one of the problems we had in the roads. Steel was coming over from North Carolina. There's been some issues with that. We're going to greatly increase the population in Virginia. Probably going to have a place like Whitfield. And you look at the economic driver there at that's largely driven by the differential in fuel prices between West Virginia and North Carolina. And as much as we increase that, however, there's 86 cents, there's going to have an effect on those communities. The other problem is when we're talking
But
about.
can you tell me what the fuel tax is in North Carolina? I can't.
My head goes
Twice.
34.
32, yeah, 34, so,
And yet, if you go on to, by the way, that's 18 cents, Mr. Chairman, over what we are. But when you go on gas buddy, generally, most of the times, it's the retail, statewide average of regular unleaded is generally never any more than 7 to 8 cents. Nonsense. It's higher than what it is in Virginia, and I've seen it as low as only 3 cents. The reason is the major oil companies have a policy that they will not allow a wide state-by-state separation. And I remember that day in 2003, North Carolina went from 23 to 29 cents a gallon. Every jobber distributor between Richmond and Roanoke and the North Carolina line got a 6-cent increase in their wholesale price that night to match the tax increase in North Carolina. So we didn't do our constituents any favors by not raising the gas tax.
Senator Sasswell, why didn't you join me on my gubernatorial campaign? I said that same line from Bristol to Falls Church, but apparently the truth will set you free, but it won't get you elected.
Mr. Chairman, we would have joined you, but we felt that that would have hurt you rather than help you.
The head of the editorial page of the Washington Post said the same thing. If we endorse you, will it help you or hurt you? So.
One more point. The other point is, if this bill passes, Augusta County is going to have to tax, but you can go to Nelson or whatever, is not going to have any tax. What we do is move people from the stations that are taxed to those who.
So you suggesting I'm gonna leave Augusta County, drive all the way up to the top of that mountain, burn a couple of gallons of gas, and then buy my tank of gas at the top? Can you buy it on the top of Afton Mountain? I'm not even sure there's a gas station up there. So now I gotta go all the way over down the other side to get gas. So to save how much? 6 cents a gallon? Is that your suggestion?
The problem is, this should be statewide, this should not be limited, that would be our.
Well, I will say this, and while it sounds a wonderful idea statewide, then it goes into a statewide pot, and here's the problem we have, okay? It is, why should I raise taxes when we're not gonna get the money? It's gonna be washed through HB2, and we're never gonna see the money on our road projects, and believe me, I've heard it. It sounds good, but this is symptomatic of what happens. We had a whole long discussion on tolls, which is all symptomatic of what happens when we're unwilling to pay for our highways to begin with. We don't watch out, private companies from around the world are gonna own the Virginia highway system. And if that's where you wanna go, we're well on our way. And I just, for one, think that is a totally wrong direction to head, to allow our highway system to be owned by companies in Australia, Spain, and everything else. But that's where we're headed if we don't start understanding we've got to pay for our own transportation projects. So anyway, that's my diatribe. It won't get you elected, but you know, it certainly will be right. But well, I mean, that's just how I feel. Okay, I think we all understand the bill. I think it'll make some serious changes to 81. Something's got to happen there. The drips and drabs that are going in, but I know somebody, but the committee operates by motion. Substitute before us. Been moved and seconded. We recommend approval. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay. I voted 4-2. We'll recommend reporting to the full committee. And that leaves us, we're done. And you all got another subcommittee, don't you? The informal stuff.
That's where they have to
in this corner, and I was like, where did he go? Yeah.
No, I told him about thank you for his speech. Yeah. No, it's
They were asking.
Did you get the bill? Okay. Did you get the bill? Yeah. You want a copy? Okay. You don't need to scan either side.